So today, guys, we're talking about nutrition, but probably in a little bit different way than you've heard in the past. We're going to talk about nutritional foundation. A lot of times, everybody focuses on telling you what to eat, what to measure out, these perfect rules and things like that. But people don't think about behavior change. People don't think about how it's actually applied. So when I teach nutrition, it's very different. Hold on, let me just close something out here real quick. When I teach nutrition, it's very different because I focus on application, not just knowledge. I can tell you a million things that you have to do different in order to make your nutrition perfect. But is that actually going to make you be better with nutrition, or is it going to make me look like a really knowledgeable person and you not being able to apply it? Remember, I'm taking you guys through these workshops. I'm not trying to make you be perfect with everything. I'm trying to help you be more focused and only apply small little changes that are most important for you. So as I take you through these 7 weeks, I'm not expecting you to make changes. I want you to journal about everything. That's my only request, is that over these 7 weeks, everything I have you try, everything I have you do, you're journaling about it. So when the 7 weeks are over, I won't leave you hanging. I'll keep giving you information on how to actually get started within the method. Not just what the big picture is, but how do I actually go and do this week in and week out. So I covered that, but now it's just high level stuff. So if you're just joining, guys, we talk about nutrition. Let me know where you're joining from. I love to hear where people are coming in from because it's usually all over the world. So what we're going to discuss is I'm going to talk to you about plate philosophy today, how your plate should look like. We're going to talk about some nutritional rules, but not necessarily rules, but behaviors that I want you to focus on. There's 11 that I'm going to cover. And then I'm going to talk to you about an easier way to track your food, measure your food, and count your food without having to count calories, put them on the scale, look in the back of labels, and all that tedious stuff that doesn't really work. I'm going to cover the specifics in much more greater detail in the future workshops when I talk about macronutrient balance, when I talk about the fallacy of nutritional industry right now. You guys have been doing this a long time, so I've seen it all come and go. Hey Pueblo, that's awesome. Somebody's watching. A friend of mine actually is watching from real close. Yes, we do need to, by the way, set up a time to grab some coffee. I just been so slammed with everything, but for sure we'll definitely set it up. So let's get kind of started and start first with plate philosophy. That's the very first thing that I want you guys to look at when considering transitioning from where you are right now, where maybe you're not eating healthy or it's not as healthy as you want it to be, right? So you're sitting there, I want to be better in whatever way, shape, or form that is. Typically, I want you to just focus on your plate philosophy. Now, one thing to understand about 10% Fitter method, because it focuses on behavior change, I'm a behavior change specialist as much as I am a nutrition coach, health coach, life coach, all those foundation of application and nutrition change. Hey, Kimmy, thanks so much for tagging people. I love tagging when people try to spread this message to other people because I just want to educate as much as I can. But when you see on the board there, www.perspectiveforce.com/10% fitter, if you want to get access to recordings, if you want to get access to my homework assignments, go there, drop your email, and you'll get all of the previous recordings, all the homework assignments that come with it. I know I'm kind of in the middle of this right now, but you can catch the previous stuff as well. So just go to that address and you can sign up. But anyway, so with plate philosophy, right, it's not about what to avoid. It's not my focus because that's not how you're going to change. It's a natural way to kind of avert bad things, right? Avoid bad things. But that's actually a very prehistoric way of using motivation and behavior change. There's a much better psychological way of doing it, and it's actually chasing the positive. It's not running away from a negative. When we start to chase the positive, and instead of saying, as an example, I'm not going to eat sugar, instead eat a lot of protein and fiber, and you chase that fiber and you chase that protein. So guess what's not going to happen in the process? You're not going to want that sugar. But we are built as human beings to want what we can't have. I always make this joke, right? So think about like a boyfriend or a girlfriend that you had back in the day, like maybe a long time ago, high school preferably, right? And you maybe didn't like them anymore, but they broke up with you first. What happened in that moment where you're like, cool, I didn't like them anyway? No, that's not what happened, guys. What happened is now you want them because we want what we can't have. That's why in the foundation, like when it comes down to nutrition, you don't run away from bad things. You chase the opposing good things. So just understand that with plate philosophy. In general, this is what your plate should look like, right? Instead of trying to count everything, and if you're just starting out with nutrition, if this is just something that's new, in general, focus. Just try to do this for a couple weeks. I'm telling you guys, everybody wants things way too fast and then you don't change. Like if you have dieted, I just want you to think about how many years you've dieted for. What if you took a year out of that time and you simply took your time gradually changing? How far do you think you'd be right now? I'm telling you, you'd be a whole lot further than you are in reality, right? Because dieters are just up and down, up and down. But this is behavior change. This is actually not just cramming a diet into your lifestyle. It's building a meal nourishment plan around your lifestyle and the way you eat. So in general, start out chasing your plates to look like this. Every time you eat, whether it's breakfast, whether it's, I don't mean exactly, guys. So some maybe will take this literal. I don't mean that you should have chicken for breakfast and rice and all that kind of stuff. It's not what I'm saying. Just look at the plate in general. Is about a quarter of your plate protein, right? I'm going to cover macronutrients and what it is in a future thing if you don't know exactly what protein is. But understand, protein, I'll cover here in a second just a little bit. That's a quarter of your plate. The other quarter is starches. And we'll talk about some rules with starches and things like that, rules with protein. But with starches, we'll revisit this in a second towards the middle of presentation, but smart carbs. Smart carbs doesn't mean you're going to put a quarter of your plate sugar. That's not a smart carb, right? So rice, something my body has to work to break down, not a big old piece of bread. Not saying you can't eat bread. We'll cover that as well, but just understand about a quarter of it should be starches and the other half is vegetables. You know, vegetables is like you eat all the vegetables you want. Never worry about anything. So in general, shoot for this. Now, people are going to say, well, it's not perfectly measured for my body size, my body type. Guys, if you're going from eating donuts still to trying to measure food, you're leaping too much, right? We talked about in a previous workshop when we talked about assessing the starting point, right? When you're starting off, make sure that you're not trying to change A to Z. It has to be a single shift. So you got to go A to B before you go through each letter before you get to Z. But oftentimes when we do nutrition, we go, okay, right now I'm not meal prepping, I'm not meal planning, I'm eating whatever I want, I'm having fast food, I'm eating processed foods more than I am regular foods. So now tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be perfect. No, you're not. Maybe a week, maybe 2 tops. Maybe some of you are super disciplined, you make it a month. That's it. Eventually, you're going to fall off, you're going to binge, and it's not going to change anything. So for the first few weeks, just simply focus on making your plate look like that. From there, now we're going to get into 11 mealtime habits. Now, this is something that I'm going to show you right now overall, but it doesn't mean that you're going to start all 11 at once. Guys, remember, 10% fitter is the principle that all of this comes from. It's my training method, right? It's the healthy lifestyle training method, but it's portion of Perspective Force health category. We have 6 other categories of coaching, but this is just one. So anyway, so it's designed for people like professionals or busy people or people that are living everyday life right now are so busy. You can't dedicate 100% of yourself to your health. Just impossible, guys. You just can't. It's an unrealistic expectation. Maybe when you're 18 years old with 0 responsibility, then you still have school, right? Even then you can't dedicate 100%. So this is an improper mindset that people start with. This microwave society, quick fix, all or nothing society, whatever you want to call it. It's a wrong mindset. And that's why we covered mindset already and gradual change and implementing small shifts at the beginning of these workshops. So rule number 1. When you're sitting down, right, this is how you eat, not just what you eat. Because we talked about relationship with food as being one of the greatest limiting factors to a good nutrition plan. And that's not something that people talk about very often. It's not something you're going to go on Instagram and find, because that's true coaching. That's what life and health coaches do that are real coaches, and they're going to figure out why do you have problems with food, not just forcefully make you eat what's healthy. So first things first, right? Do a mind-body scan. So what you're going to do is just for 5 minutes before you eat, sit down and observe yourself. Observe your emotions, observe your feelings, observe your stress, observe the way your body feels, tension, where are you feeling things, where are you experiencing, observe your hunger, your cravings, all those things. Start to journal and pay attention. And I'm telling you guys, you're collecting data. So we talked about journal around meantime. I kind of skipped ahead, but make sure you're getting that data. The data is really, really important in order to be able to see patterns. You don't need a coach. I'm telling you guys, every one of you is analytical enough to journal around mealtime and see what kind of things you're identifying, what kind of things are getting in the way. right? So make sure that you start to do that and not just pay attention to, what is going on with you, also pay attention to what is going on around you, because there's external forces that could be impacting your food choices and just the state that you're in when you're eating, right? From there, you're eating slowly. That's the third habit that we want to focus on. We discussed how eating slowly makes us fuller faster, or I should say makes us fuller and makes us satisfied in our brain instead of just being mechanically full and being stuffed in our belly. So eating slowly and mindfully, and it helps with many different aspects. We've mentioned a few, like stress management, right? Making our body digest food better because we're in a more relaxed and parasympathetic environment that focuses on digestion and recovery versus, kind of survival and performance. So rule number 4 is eating until 80% full, right? And that's what we help with by eating slower. We're able to find that 80% fullness more accurately instead of overeating, because a lot of times if you're moving really fast and just ingesting this food really, really fast, you don't realize, like, okay, I went from full to stuffed in a matter of seconds, and then really the brain caught up and now I'm really stuffed. So you want to typically hit somewhere between 80 and 100% full. You can see there on the board, right, on the screen, in the green area. Now, when you start to get into orange, now you're over 100% full. You're getting to that between 100 and 149. You're definitely full, a bit uncomfortable, and obviously 150 full is when your stuff popping about to burst, right? I went to Golden Corral cafeteria and pigged out sometimes. Guys, I'm a health coach, but don't get me wrong. If you think I never have a feast, you're wrong, and that's okay. But I'm not overweight. You don't have to worry about, eating ice and lettuce to, be healthy. It's just you have to follow these general principles. From there is drink enough water. That's another component that I want you guys to focus on, is how much water are you drinking throughout the day, right? And here a typical response there where people go, all I drink is water. Okay, that's great. I'm really happy that that's what you're doing. You're not having too much sugar and other things bringing into your body. That's one component, right? So people are thinking, I'm avoiding bad calories that way. It is true. It's great. Let's celebrate it. But are you drinking enough water to let your body do everything it's supposed to do on the inside, right? We're made 70% of this stuff. Some depends on what study you look up, right? But somewhere around there. And if you're deficient, your body doesn't have enough building blocks, enough material to do what it's supposed to do. And then we have problems. So, about 1/2 of your body weight in ounces of water daily, right? So if you're looking at an average, male, say 200 pounds, should be drinking 100 ounces of water per day. If you look in water bottles, it's around 6 water bottles, those, regular sized water bottles that you should have per day. Somebody that's 100 pounds should only have 50, so on and so forth. Easy breakdown there on the screen. So from there, we get into rule number 6, which is going to be chase variety of protein. You can see there in the picture some protein sources for you that are great options. And it's not just about meats. It's not just about, vegetables. It's a combination of grains, vegetables, meats, and even fruits have protein in it. But the point is we're making it a focus to always chase proteins. We're trying to get sources with every single meal, every single thing that we eat, whether it be a snack or a full-blown, sit-down meal. Once again, if you're chasing protein, what are you not doing? You're not going to be having as many carbs. But if I tell you to stop eating carbs, you're going to want more of what you can't have, as we discussed a little bit earlier in the show. So from there, we get into habit number 7, and that's 12 servings of fruits and vegetables daily. Once again, if I tell you to stop eating carbs, you're going to want more carbs. But if I tell you to chase your nutrients, you're going to be more full from fiber. Your blood sugar is going to be more regulated, and your body's going to feel better, right? I've often talked about why vegetarians feel so much better than meat eaters. Is it because meat's bad for you? No, guys, it's not. Portion of it is that many of us eat bad meat, highly processed, highly full of hormones, right? But where farmers are trying to increase yield, so they're shoving these cows' bowls full of hormones to try to get a lot. And they're like these muscle farms, right? Your body inherits all that crap. So take out the bad meat. The other aspect is how much good nutrients the vegetarians get. In order to get full, they got to have a lot of different food. So it's a lot of vegetables. Doesn't mean that you have to stop eating meat. You just have to eat more vegetables and chase those healthy vegetables. Try to get about a 3-to-1, right? About 3 portions of vegetables to every single serving of fruit. That's typically what you're looking at. So about 9 veggies, 3 fruit throughout the day. In America, we tend to flip that, and that's Not that fruit is bad for you, but it will halt your weight loss. It will have poor energy levels and different things like that. So make sure you're trying to follow that balance. And then habit number 8 that we focus on is smart carbs. I kind of mentioned smart carbs a little bit, but smart carbs are going to be things that are not going to spike your blood sugar a lot. One of the things that we cover with nutrition, I think I cover it next week, is blood sugar regulation. The reason many of us are overweight, many of us are suffering gut issues, stress issues, because we're not regulating our blood sugar well. So by focusing on smart carbs, that's what we do. So I'm not necessarily telling you go do that. Here's a habit that you need to focus on, just eating more smart carbs. So this means that better choices, right? So when you're chasing your carbohydrates and you're looking at how much carb you're eating throughout the day, it's not as simple as saying, okay, 30 to 35% of my diet is from carbs and I'm good. No, they need to be mostly smart carbs, about 80-20 rule, right? I'm going to talk about that in a second. So sweet potato. Why is a sweet potato a smart carb where a bread is not a smart carb? Or even like a regular potato is not technically a smart carb. Too much starch, very easy for the body to absorb, break down, and make a lot of energy. Then it creates a big energy spike. And then it impacts our ability to burn fat, impacts our ability to store fat, impacts our ability to use fat, and ultimately energy levels throughout the day as well as our hormones. But a sweet potato, it's a much more complex food. So your body has to work to break it down in order to make it better. So that's why a sweet potato is going to be better than a regular potato, right? It's the same thing. Like rice has got GMO and all sorts of stuff in it. So we want to eat more quinoa or brown rice that hasn't been genetically modified to increase yield. So more old grains and things like that is what we want to focus on. Fat sources. Rule number 1 is focusing on healthy fats. And once again, I'm not trying to tell you to not eat something. That's not my method focus. It's about chasing something, making sure we're getting enough of these healthy fats. A little pop quiz. If you know me and you've been following me for a while, you know that one of these fats I'm not a fan of. There's a specific one, and it just needs to be modified. So you got avocados, salmon, egg yolks, sardines. Sardines are awesome. I'm telling you guys, eat more of them. Olives, chia seeds, different nuts, sunflower seeds, and peanut butter. Which one of these 9 do you think I'm against? Peanut butter, guys. Not that I'm saying you can't eat peanut butter at all, but I'm not a fan of. I'm a fan of nut butters. Peanuts are legumes. They're a nut family, so they have a lot of phytoestrogens in them, and they can hurt your body. They can hurt your hormones and different estrogen balance and stuff like that. So any nut butter in replacement of peanut butter. I have almond butter. Many of my clients, especially any that are watching, you guys know those almond butter packets are my go-to thing. And they're not, yes, they're high in calories, but you got to be mindful of what you're doing and not overeating it, but a little bit is going to be all right. Then from there, we get into rule number 10, and that's the 80-20 rule of whole foods, right? So that means that 80% of your diet, whether it be 4 out of 5 meals, or just in general, 80% of your meal and 20% of your meal, 80% is good, 20% is not. However you want to break it down, however you want to measure the 80-20 rule, doesn't matter. Throughout the week, throughout the day, throughout the meal, you're trying to get 80% of your foods from whole, unprocessed sources, right? So natural foods in their naturally occurring state. Yes, you can cook them. Yes, you can do things to them, but the point is they started out naturally. It's not from a package, right? Natural foods don't really come in a package. I mean, in a bag, but not in a package. So if it's sealed, it's full of preservatives, things like that, you only can have it about 20% of the time. From there, we get into last one and rule 11. There's a reason this is 11. There's a reason why this is not 1, even though many health coaches, nutritionists have you go that route and start with meal prep and meal planning and things like that. Not the best option for you guys. That's not necessarily what you want to do. So it's building up to this. It's establishing a lot of those habits, and now you're ready. And understand that you may start with just meal planning. I don't have a lot of clients meal prepping because they are very busy. They don't have a lot of time and they're traveling all the time. So they don't want to carry their cooler around. Great. We can find alternatives while thinking ahead. That's really, really key. As you're traveling, you're identifying, where am I going to be? What is my environment going to look like? And let me plan ahead. And there's another thing to this. This is something to do with your winning momentum. I'm going to play this out just as an example so you guys can kind of pay attention. Imagine you're going on a trip, and that lunch has nothing around, nothing quality. And you go, you know what? I see Chick-fil-A as it's the best fast food source I can find. I don't advocate for fast food, but I'm just saying sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and it's better to eat than not to eat. So then you go, okay, I know that Chick-fil-A is the best food source there is. I'm going to eat this specific thing from Chick-fil-A. And then you go through the week, you get to that day, you have that thing, and guess what? You're not going to feel defeated. You're not going to feel like you cheated. You're not going to feel like negative emotions are rising from inside you because of a poor food choice, because you've thought about it, you've identified the issue, and you said, you know what, this is the best solution I have. Second scenario, you didn't think about it ahead of time. You got hungry that day and you went, saw there was no good choices, and you reactively chose whatever was your body craving. Maybe it didn't even have to be in Chick-fil-A, or maybe it did. But the point is, how do you feel afterwards? You didn't identify that as an option ahead of time. You didn't say that you're allowed to do that. You're going to feel guilt, remorse, a bunch of negative feelings associated with it. So meal planning is not just about thinking about ahead what you eat. It's deciding to give yourself a break when need to be and celebrating small successes along the way. And maybe you start, first thing is you plan snacks. You simply start your behaviors with planning snacks. And then you start getting better and you start planning 1 meal a week, 2 meals a week, 1 meal a day, right? Whatever it may be, until every meal is kind of planned out. It doesn't mean prepped, guys. This is a big thing. We're just thinking ahead, deciding what we're going to eat ahead of time. We may or may not prep it. Prepping is great. It makes things easier, but that's a skill set that you have to gain. If you don't quite have it yet, then work on planning as you get more comfortable with prepping. From there is, how much should I eat, right? This is a big one for folks. And you got people telling you, get a scale, measure everything precisely. Stuff doesn't work. I'm going to talk to you about fallacies and things like that in the future workshops. But here, I just need you to understand, this whole counting and measuring thing is not as accurate as they all make you think. I'm going to have science research to prove it, even though like 90% of nutritionists out there, these nutritional people are telling you, macros, measurement, no. Track food and ballpark your intake. That's what it's about. So how much should you eat? All right, before I even get into this, most people think, oh, if it's a general rule, I won't get results. Here's an example for you guys of some people that achieved amazing results. This is through precision nutrition. Precision nutrition is what I use. I was certified in for nutrition, and what the 10% Fitter method nutritional philosophy stands on. It's not the only philosophy, but it's one of them. But this is an example of precision nutrition, what it can do, right? Using that philosophy, people change drastically. And it's not just about losing a little bit of weight, right? You see a person that was somewhat fit in the top right corner, and now she's super fit. But at the same time, there's people that were, not fit, overweight, became not overweight, right? It depends. And there's plenty of examples of people having 6-packs and then getting to 10-packs. And by simply focusing on this nutritional philosophy, because it allows you to be consistent. It allows things to be easy and very applicable. So that's kind of what you focus on there. So portion control. That's what it's ultimately all about. So what we're getting at is a portion of protein is 1 palm. A portion of vegetables is going to be 1 fist. A portion of carbs is 1 cupped hand, and a portion of fats is equal 1 thumb. That's typically what you're looking at. And you're going to see how my meal plan works, how I use it specifically for my body. I'll give you my exact meal plan here in a second. But protein, right, that's how it breaks down. You can see the macronutrient amount, right, how many grams that is about. So not precise, but I'm telling you, it's still pretty darn good, and you can figure out exactly what you should be eating throughout the day. So from there, we're getting into my personal meal plan with palm portion control, right? So in a day, this is about 3,000 to 3,500 calories per day. Some of you are like, oh my God, Anton, you eat so much. If I ate 3,000 to 3,500 calories of processed foods, I would have issues. I would be overweight, I'd be unhealthy. But if I'm eating 3,000 to 3,500 calories of mostly unprocessed and whole foods, I do not have a weight problem. So it's not as simple as calories in and calories out. I talk about this all the time, and I'll cover it in the future. But anyway, so this is my meal plan, right? So 7 palm-sized portions of protein per day. That's what I got to get. So now all my meals, however they're structured, however I plan them ahead, should have 7 palms worth of protein in them. 6 to 8 fist-sized portions of veggies per day, right? That's kind of what we're looking at every single day, chasing that number. Then I look at 10 cup handfuls of carbohydrates per day. Now, this adjusts based on your goal, right? So this goal in particular is body recomposition. So this meal plan is designed to basically have me lose weight while building muscle. If somebody said, I just care about losing weight, those carbs would not be as high. There'll be a little few less portions of palmed hands, right? Not zero, not one or two, just less, right? We're talking about going from maybe 25 to 40% carbs, somewhere in that window based on kind of what you're trying to do with your goal. And then for me, 11 thumb-sized portions of fat, all right? Good amount of fat, 140 grams. Most people would be afraid of that. Works great for my body, works great for my mind, and things like that. From there is how to track, and we're going to wrap this up. So how to track, daily portion tracking. Guys, every diet, the best thing about that diet is paying attention to what you eat reflectively and proactively, right? So meal planning is proactively, and reflectively is daily portion tracking sheets, seeing how you're doing. Do I expect you to be perfect here all the time? No. I expect you to be aware, identify why you're missing, and then create plans on how to slowly shift that plan and make it an easy habit, right? It's not about being perfect tomorrow. It's about being better slightly by 10% every single day, every single week, right? Progress is perfection. Perfection doesn't exist, but if we can be just slightly better next week, next day, just a tiny bit, and not go backwards, then we're maintaining that perfection in a way. So that's kind of how you track it. You figure out how many of each you need to do, and then break it down. That's what I do with my clients often, but it's not even something I start right away. I mean, one of my clients working with right now, been with her for, God, six weeks now? 5 weeks? She's down 10 pounds, but we haven't even talked about portion control. Right? It's not even needed. The first initial pounds are coming off easy, and then when we get down to the nitty-gritty and want to make sure we instill good habits for life, we start to get a little bit more heavy into this. But you don't want to overwhelm people. It doesn't work like that. So that's really it, guys. That's all I got for you. Tomorrow we're gonna dive into let's see. So today is Saturday. Tomorrow we got movement. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow's building muscles and strong bones. Right? We're gonna talk about muscle building, what you got to do to make that happen, how does it occur, the science behind it, but also how it all connects into strong bones and how it connects into your later everyday function and survival into your later years. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Have a great